Yo, 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 what's going on, world? This is your boy Naji from Cigar Talk, and today I got a very special guest seated to my right. Hey, this is part two, man. I got the legend himself, Mr. Bob Arum, the Bob Father. How are you, sir?
Good, nice to talk to you, and welcome to our office.
Man, this is a hell of an office you built here, man.
Yeah.
There's a lot of history, a lot of legacy. I know downstairs is like the TV room, the film room.
Yeah, unbelievable, right?
Oh my God, you probably have filmed what, 70s, 80s, just all kind of classic?
No, it goes back to the 60s.
The 60s?
Mid-60s, yeah.
Damn. Are there like plans for that film, or you just collect it to license?
We're talking to a number of people on our next media deal, exploiting the library. Some of the greatest fights in history are ones we promoted and have the rights to.
Absolutely. Well, you just mentioned the media deal. Obviously, that's been a hot button topic, like where's Top Rank going to go and all that. How do you, just as the businessman, decide what makes the most sense for you?
Well, we have top agents that represent us from creative artists, and they've represented us from the time we made the deal with ESPN. They're putting together a deal for us with a number of different outlets, which is what everybody is doing, no longer relying on just one outlet, which we have done, of course, like everybody else. We've had this 8-year relationship with ESPN, which has been very, very good, and ESPN have been really good partners for us.
Yeah. Obviously, you know, there's a bunch like DAZN, of course, and, you know, Alan them did Amazon Prime, and there's Peacock. There's a whole bunch of things. Do you have a preference, or is it just like whatever CAA comes back with the good deal, or does Bob have a preference as far as the network?
Well, I think, yeah, obviously there are preferences and there are whatever, but that when you have an agent representing you the way we do, we let them come up with the best deal, and then we evaluate it.
Yeah.
We are currently talking to a number of different entities, and I believe that we'll have 2 or maybe even 3 outlets for Top Rank product.
I love that. Obviously, I just got a chance to speak to the monster Inoue. Very special young man, special fighter. Did it take convincing to get him here to the U.S.? I feel like people have been clamoring the last few years, you know, stateside to see him. He's obviously fighting this Sunday, the 4th. Did it take some convincing from you to get him here?
No, the truth is, we don't talk directly to him about who he should fight, where he should fight. We talk to Ohashi and Honda-san, and they decide when it's time for him to move out of Japan and fight in the United States, or when it's time for him to do a fight in Riyadh.
Yeah.
So you have to understand the culture is different with the Japanese fighters from Western fighters. Japanese fighters don't appear to be making the decisions relating to their careers. They rely on the people that brought them.
Gotcha.
Like Ohashi and Honda.
Yeah.
And they leave it to them, and they concentrate on fighting.
Got you. Do you think that at the position he's in, right, because he doesn't have to come to the U.S., right? He's doing 50,000 seat venues in Japan. Do you think for him and the team that this is an important thing for him, just in terms of branding, for him to fight in the States more regularly?
Well, I don't know about regularly, but I know that America is a big market, and he should certainly fight from time to time in the United States, and maybe from time to time in other places.
Yeah.
But his big market is in Japan, as you say. I mean, I was there when he fought Neri, a Mexican fighter,
Yep.
in Tokyo, and they did the fight at the Tokyo Dome, which held 55,000 fans,
Wow.
and everybody was there from the first fight until after he finished speaking in the ring after the knockout. And it was a great, great crowd. And I think he hopes to do a fight shortly, again in the Tokyo Dome,
Yeah.
which is very difficult to contract for because the baseball team plays there and every concerts want to go in there.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to get the building.
I would assume for the Nakatani fight, that would be the destination, right? He called him out the other day. That was a nice, polite call out. I enjoyed that. But that seems to be the looming super fight that we all want to see.
Well, if you say that Inoue Nakatani is a fight that you want to see, imagine every Japanese sports fan.
Yeah.
I mean when Inoue fought Neri, the 55,000 seats sold out in the first day. With Nakatani and Inoue, the seats would sell out in the first hour.
Damn, that's crazy. Oh, man. Yeah. Can you tell me, so I'm interested just in the business part of this, right? Because we see, the Turkey signed a lot of your fighters as ambassadors, right? Like Ring magazine ambassadors. There was Shushu, Abdullah Mason, Keyshawn. How does that work, right? Like being, you're a top rank fighter, but there's like some ambassadorship that's happening.
Well, everybody should support what's happening in Riyadh because it's only good for the sport. And to have our fighters as ambassadors, I think that's a good thing. And the Saudis are not looking to have any of our fighters breach their contracts and leave Top Rank and fight with them. They're pretty conservative in their viewpoint, and they particularly Turkey has a lot of respect for contracts.
Yeah.
So the fact that they've made some of our fighters, our best fighters, ambassadors, I think is good for both of us. Good for the Saudis, good for our fighters who pick up some extra money and become ambassadors, whatever that means. And it's good for us because it reaffirms our belief of how good our fighters are.
So there's never any breach or anything like that if one of the top ranked fighters fights on Riyadh. It's all
They
just
come
sort
to
of worked
us and they ask permission.
Yeah.
And if the money is right, and if the fighter is not booked up to do something else,
Yeah.
why not? It's a win-win.
Yeah. I see that.
See, in the beginning, they made a mistake. They fell in love with one of our fighters who was very, very good, Jared Anderson.
Big baby.
Big baby. And they went directly to him, not with the idea that they would break our contract or anything, but once he said yes, then they would come to us. But they went to the kid with all this money, and so he was bound and determined, and he put a lot of pressure on us to take a fight that he wasn't ready for. Now that doesn't work. But now what they do is if they want one of our fighters in a fight, they come to us and they discuss. And if it's to everybody's advantage, particularly the fighter, we say yes.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Let's talk about a couple of the guys on the roster that everyone's clamoring about. The first one, Vasily Lomachenko, right? Like he's just been on pause and I don't think anyone knows too much of what he's been doing outside of, obviously, he's been dealing with the war in Ukraine. But have you spoken to him or his team and have any updates on what's going on?
He's not going to come back unless he gets a full clearance from the doctor. He's had a little problem with his back, and so we're waiting to hear a final verdict from the doctors before Lomachenko will make his decision. So that should come within the next week or two.
Oh, okay. Is that something where you, as you know, your company, Lomachenko's obviously been a star for some time. Is that a scenario where you want him to fight again, or you're just kind of like, whatever you want to do? If you want to retire, that's fine, or?
Well, the latter. It's whatever you want to do, we're in favor of. And whatever he wants to do is going to be determined by the medical reports that he gets.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's move to another one. Teofimo Lopez. I think he's an interesting one in the sense that publicly there's been, some tumultuous relationship, I'd say, publicly. But to my knowledge, he's still a top-ranked fighter. What are your thoughts just on Teofimo and where he's at currently?
Well, he's a good fighter, but he's for some reason allowed himself to get distracted. So he's not disciplined when he's training. And his last two performances have not been great. Let's be honest about it.
Steve Claggett.
Claggett, he shouldn't be in the same ring as he was. And the kid from New Orleans, Ortiz.
Jermaine Ortiz.
Yeah, the argument could be made that Ortiz won that fight.
Agreed.
With any event, it wasn't a great fight. It was pretty boring. So Teofimo would do a lot better if he shut his mouth up a little bit more and concentrated on training. Because if he hasn't done that for the Barbosa fight, he's going to be in trouble. Barbosa
he's a good fighter.
He's not a great fighter, but he's a very good fighter.
Yeah.
And he's been fighting top-of-the-line competition like Catterall.
Yep. Even Ramirez.
And Ramirez. And so let's see. Let's see. I wish, obviously, Teofimo the best. But I've really been disappointed with how he acts and how he prepares for these fights.
Got you. Okay. How about Keyshawn Davis? I saw you just announced the fight. I believe June 7th is the date, or is it July?
June
7th, Norfolk, Virginia. Yeah. Bob, man, that kid is, I like Keyshawn a lot. I feel like he's been showing star potential in and out the ring. What are your feelings on Keyshawn?
I keep telling Keyshawn that you're the face of boxing. You will be the fighter that everybody will circle back to as being very media friendly, great fighter, and somebody whose fights you want to see. And I told Keyshawn that I've been around a long time, and the fighter he most reminds me of is Sugar Ray Leonard. So I think the sky's the limit for Keyshawn.
Why do you say that? What is it about him that reminds you of Ray Leonard?
He's a brilliant fighter, and in the course of a fight, he becomes a son of a bitch killer.
Sure does.
And that was how Ray fought.
Okay. So what do you think is, I guess, the plan for him in the sense that, right, he's the WBO champ, right? Just got that off of Baranchek. Obviously, we're waiting, like you said, maybe another week or two to see what Loma's doing. But I guess for him, is it just trying to get the IBF?
Well, again, we'll have to see one step at a time. DeSanto's supposed to be a pretty good fighter.
Yep.
That he's fighting. And obviously a fight with Tank Davis would be a big attraction. The only lightweight that I know that Keyshawn won't fight is Shakur,
Yeah.
because they apparently have such a close friendship that they've pledged each other that they won't fight against each other, which is good, which is okay.
Okay. Yeah. Are you cool with that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
But I've known it from the beginning.
Yeah. They told you that from the
When
beginning.
when Keyshawn signed.
Oh, he said, I'm
said,
a
I'll
sign
fight
hit.
anybody, but I'm not going to fight Shakur.
What did you tell him?
I said, fine, I understand. They're like brothers.
Yeah.
I mean, before we met Keyshawn, before we signed him, Keyshawn, still an amateur, came to Shakur's fights and Shakur treated him like a little brother.
Yeah.
So we knew that relationship was very, very close.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you mentioned Keyshawn and Tank Davis. That's a fight people have talked about. I know I've seen in other interviews you've mentioned that you and PBC are going to start working more closely together. I think, just...
Yeah, obviously, because it's stupid for promoters who can make big fights not to work together to make those fights. That's what always used to happen, and that's what we're back to now. And I think I haven't talked with Al Heyman in a long time. Nobody has. But Louis DeCubas is apparently doing all the business. And I know Louis, and I go back with Louis's father.
Yeah.
So he's a nice guy. And we're not going to have any difficulties arranging great matches between our fighters and PBC fighters.
Yeah. Okay. The last I saw on Shakur Stevenson, he made some positive comments about you. He said, good luck to Bob and everything he's done. Is there a situation where you would welcome him back? Just because I saw his contract was up, I believe, from what I saw.
Yeah, he doesn't have a contract anymore. He's going to do this one fight in New York.
Yeah.
Against, who was it he's going to fight?
Zepeda.
Zepeda, yeah, who we shouldn't have any trouble with. And then, of course, we're going to present a new deal to Shakur, and hopefully we can sign him. I mean, Shakur, personally, and myself, have, never had a cross word. I like him as a fighter. I like him as a person.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a really nice young man. So hopefully we can work again together.
Okay. All right. What do you think about, Dana White throwing his hat in the ring now, right? He's coming to boxing. I know, obviously, you've made comments about the pay structure before, but what do you think about just him entering the game as, I am now doing boxing?
Well, I think he has a real problem. A real problem. Because it'll become obvious to those fighters who are mixed martial arts that they get so much less than boxers get that he's going to start a revolution, if not a lawsuit. Because he just got finished with a settlement for some early years where he has to pay his fighters in damages close to $400 million. So, and there's another suit that's being settled now for probably an equal amount for later years. So again, unless he's willing to change the structure for MMA fighters and raise them considerably, he shouldn't think about going into boxing.
Does it get your competitive juices flowing when he's like, I'm coming in the game to take over, or you're just like, eh?
Take over is not something that worries me, not something that ever worried me. Like the Saudis, the Saudis are coming in, they're going to take over. No, they make a good impact, and you have to maybe change the way you do your business, but you got to look for the fact that it really enhances everything,
Yeah.
because the Saudis have brought money into boxing that enable big events to go on, whether in Riyadh or in the United States or in the UK, and that's been good for the sport. That
Yeah.
elevates the sport. So you can't just say that somebody is coming into boxing and they're going to take over. Nobody takes over boxing. It's not that kind of sport. But again, it could be very good for the sport if the people come in and they invest money
Yeah.
in the sport.
Obviously, a lot's been made just about the amounts, the purses that they, these guys are throwing big money, big bags everywhere. What's like the biggest purse that you remember that you had to put out that you were like, oh shit, like this is a lot of money?
Well, I had fighters like De La Hoya, who fought Trinidad,
Yeah.
and Manny Pacquiao when he fought Mayweather.
Yep.
So we're used to paying pretty large purses, but the pay-per-view business is not as strong as it used to be. One of the reasons is that the prices for pay-per-view are ridiculous
Yeah.
high.
Yep.
And secondly, if you have a kid in your house, then you don't buy it because the kids know how to
Yeah.
steal the signal.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's all the young people that know
How to do it.
how to get a stream.
Yeah.
So pay-per-view is not doing as well, but that's the market, and the market adjusts. Like everything else, the market doesn't stay crazy
Yeah.
for years and years. It adjusts.
Do you find with those big purses, like, are those negotiations hard? Like, have you had a negotiation with a fighter where you're like, damn it, this is hard to get over the line?
No, if the fighter is adamant, let's say Fury got 70 million to fight Usyk the first time.
Yeah.
And that's, you
a
can't
lot of money.
recapture that money.
Yeah.
Now, if a fighter comes to me and he says, I won $50 million, so I would look at him and say, I think the best I can do for you is to call my friend Turki and see if he's interested.
You're right. That makes sense. Well, speaking of Tyson Fury, it seemed like he announced his comeback, which I feel like we all kind of thought was going to happen anyway. Have you spoken to Tyson Fury? Is there still a business relationship there?
Yeah, we have a good relationship, but I haven't spoken to him because I don't want to put any pressure one way or the other on him.
Yeah.
I think the only fight that he would be interested in pursuing, because it would be so massive in the UK, is Anthony Joshua.
Yeah.
I think that fight could happen. Other than that, I don't think Tyson Fury wants to come back into boxing.
Did you see that video he posted the other day? I don't know if anyone's told you about it or if
Yeah,
you saw it.
with
but
Sugar Hill,
With Sugar
yeah.
Hill, yeah. Did you make of that like that was his way of saying I want the Joshua fight?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's a very clever guy.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you've been around all the legends for decades, man. You've seen it all, done it all. What do you think it takes, like outside of talent, like what makes a star today, a boxing star?
Well, boxers, even great boxers, are performing not only in boxing, but they're performing in the whole sports landscape. So if they're going to make a mark, they have to break through all the chatter and all of the other sports, including boxing, that fill up social media. I mean, there are stories every day about this quarterback and that quarterback,
Yep.
this batter, this pitcher, this basketball player, and also this boxer. And so a boxer has to know that not only do people look at his performance in the ring, but the public wants to see who this kid is and what his personality is and what he's about. So there's an interest in him other than just his boxing ability.
Yeah.
And that's hard to teach young fighters to understand. They came up in the amateur ranks, and the only thing was if you win or you lose.
Right.
Didn't matter how you acted. Didn't matter who you pleased. But in professional boxing, it means a lot because you have to connect with the fans. Some can do it, some don't even try,
Yeah.
but the ones that can do it and try, they become very successful.
Do you think that's an innate skill, or is it something you can develop?
I think you can develop it. I mean, obviously, with Ali, it was an innate skill.
Yeah.
I mean, but that was Ali. But with and with Keyshawn, it's an innate
Yeah.
thing that he had. But with any of these other kids, they can train themselves to be media friendly, and we encourage them to do that.
I love that. I love that. I guess one of the other bright spots, another amateur coming, or not amateur, but another contender, I guess now, Abdullah Mason. He's somebody that's been making a lot of noise. The boxing world is talking about him. What do you? I mean, obviously the kid. You know, anyone with eyes can see this kid is. You know, there's something special there. But what do you think it takes for him to get to that next level?
I'm not worried about him staying focused because he comes from a family background with a strong father,
Yep.
good family ties, and he's a very, very well-spoken, disciplined kind of young man. So he's going to develop his talents without distractions. And I think he's smart enough, and the father is smart enough, that he'll become more and more media friendly.
Yeah.
So I think he can be the whole package. And I'm looking forward to see how far he can go. And apparently, there's a whole group of younger brothers
Yeah, that's coming up under him,
that
right?
are coming
Yeah.
right after him.
You know, I also like Emiliano Vargas.
Super kid.
Talented kid. He's got the goods also. I feel like him and Abdullah, that's a fight down the line that's going to be, could be one of those big ones down the line.
Well, yeah, but again, Vargas is, is his father's son,
Yep.
Emiliano, and he's a very good-looking kid, and the Hispanics are nuts about him.
Yeah.
And he can be a major star. He knows it,
Yeah.
because his father was a big star,
Sure.
and so he understands what it takes to be a fan favorite. And you don't have to teach him anything. He knows.
Yeah, he talks the talk. He'll talk.
He knows. Yeah.
What do you think about, what Jake Paul's been able to do, right? Like just the idea of, I guess, influencer boxing and that. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, Jake Paul has been very clever how he handled his career. But for me, it's not boxing. And you shouldn't call it boxing. When he goes in with an old Mike Tyson, and, that's not boxing. but go tell it to people who were intrigued when it was on Netflix,
Yeah.
and they got a huge, huge audience. So he's doing something right, but don't confuse it with boxing. I mean, until he fights a real contender, I don't want to hear Jake Paul in the context of boxing. I was a couple of years ago in England when Jake Paul fought Tommy Fury, half brother
Yep.
of Tyson Fury, and he lost by a big, big margin. You know, now, Jake Paul is a great salesperson and probably a good athlete,
Yeah.
but he's not much of a fighter.
Do you respect that he's fighting Chavez Jr. or no? Not still no.
I don't know, even at my age, whether Chavez Jr. could beat me.
Would you ever consider influencer just by the revenue that he's made, right? Like you said, he's found a niche, he's found a way to, you know, create interest. Would you ever consider doing influencer styled fights?
No.
Never.
No, I mean, you know, how many more years do I have left in this? So I don't want to waste my time with the influencer events just because they bring in some extra money.
Yeah. Obviously, your legacy sort of precedes you, you know? You're the Bob father. You've built this whole thing here. When it's all said and done, how do you want boxing fans to remember you?
Well, they'll remember what they want to remember, you know. They'll remember me through the great fights that we were lucky enough to promote. You know, I didn't do anything spectacular. I didn't do anything inventive, but I took two guys every once in a while and put them together and made magic. So I think that's what they'll remember, and that's what they should remember.
Okay. Do you have a vision for like Top Rank whenever you decide to be like, all right, I'm done with this, but do you care what happens to it after you, like whenever you're done?
Well, I care, obviously. I want it to progress. I want it to be continue to be a big name in the fight business. But, you know, the time between my retirement from the boxing and my retirement from life is going to be very, very short.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's not going to really take over my thoughts.
Bob, you've had a hell of a life, man.
Yeah.
Last question. This is a personal one. You can say yes or no. You've been an advocate of weed for some time. I always see you talk about smoking weed in the videos. Can we smoke weed together one day, Bob?
Yeah, we can. Sure.
I would just love to hit the blunt with you and just ask some
well,
questions
sure.
off camera.
Yeah, sure. In this town, it's legal.
Yeah.
So, you know, you know, I don't smoke weed all the time. I don't smoke weed when I'm working, but I certainly smoke weed some evenings.
Yeah.
Just the way you have a drink from time to time. It's
Sure.
a lot healthier smoking weed than drinking a lot of alcohol. That's for sure.
Yeah, you're right. Now, I just have a couple, you know, just some off-camera questions I wanted to ask you, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, Mr. Arum, thank you very much for
My
your time.
pleasure. Thank
I'm
you
always
for coming.
appreciative of you letting me in your house. So thank you again.
Okay, thank you.
Dope episode of Cigar Talk. Mr. Bob Arum, we out of here.
What's up, y'all? This is Naji from Cigar Talk, and I'm here to give you a special promotion. Now, if you know me and follow me on Twitter, y'all know I like to win me some money. I sports bet and I give out my picks. But now, what I need you to do is sign up to my bookie using the special promo code CIGAR, and it'll match up to $750 of your money, and it'll throw that on top. So listen, man, this is the time to get paid. Let's do it. You can sports bet, you can hit the slots. I even won me some money yesterday on them table games. It's all legit, and a great way to make some extra cash. So use the promo code CIGAR and download my bookie.